more than 637 million rand in allegedly mismanaged funds. A report by the Auditor General points to missing records and serious governance failures. The money was meant to support bursaries and work-integrated learning for the youth. The DA says the report highlights poor record-keeping, inaccurate financial reporting and a lack of disciplinary action against officials linked to wasteful spending. The party's Karabo Khachau.
The leadership of the EDTP SETA must account before Parliament for where did they spend that money and who spent that money. They must account for each and every rand.
And Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have reported coming under fresh attacks this morning, with explosions and sirens sounding over the oil-rich Gulf. The Saudi Ministry of Defense says it has detected 2 incoming ballistic missiles targeting the capital, one of which was intercepted and the other fell in an uninhabited area. The UAE Defense Ministry says it's responded to incoming missile and drone threats from Iran, explaining the sounds heard are the results of the air defense systems intercepted.
Took place at Steyn City, where thousands of fans gathered for what many are calling a more exciting, fast-paced version of golf. American star Bryson DeChambeau took the win beating John Ram in the playoff after both players delivered incredible performances. I mean, this wasn't your traditional golf tournament. Live Golf is known for its shorter format, music on the course. It's like a more relaxed atmosphere, almost like a sporting festival. So congratulations to South Africa for hosting this. Congratulations to Stain City, the organizers. It really looked like an incredible success. Did you attend that Live Golf at Stain City? What was the atmosphere like? If you didn't go, did you even know it was happening? And what do you think of this new high energy format of golf? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. I am also interested in your thoughts on the comments made by the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, about the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. He said Mkhwanazi needs to stop dragging the EFF into his personal fights inside the police. In fact, if you missed it, this is what Julius Malema said over the weekend.
Mkhwanazi, we are not fanatics of Mkhwanazi. Right now we are not ball boys of Mkhwanazi or ball girls of Mkhwanazi. We stand with the truth. And if you blunder, we will tell you this is not right. We don't care whether it's Mkhwanazi or not. Mkhwanazi has given us issues. We are dealing with those issues. He must stop being sensitive that everyone who doesn't speak good about him, that person becomes the enemy. If he's a true policeman, let him remain true policeman and allow Madlanga and the ad hoc committee to deal with what he has raised. He must never think he can blackmail or threaten anyone. We are not scared of policemen. When we joined the struggle, we were taught not to be scared of a policeman. We have not done it when we were young. We are not going to do it when we are old. Mkhwanazi is fighting General Khan. And every time he fights General Khan, he drags the EFF name, he drags the CIC's name to fight General Khan. Let him fight Khan if they've got their own issues and leave the EFF out of their nonsense, because EFF is not part of any nonsense they are fighting about in the police.
Sure. Yeah, he really seemed upset there. What do you think is at play here? What do you believe is happening here? Do you think that's how General Mkhwanazi positioned it, dragging the EFF in this? Do you think the EFF leader is misreading it? Share your thoughts with us, please. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to be in conversation with the Energy Department as the war in the Middle East enters its fourth week. The conflict has disrupted key energy routes, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, which we've spoken about a lot. I mean, that's about 20% of the world's oil supply. It passes there. And it continues, that conflict, to trigger the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. So how are we being affected as South Africans? And how do we even plan should the war prolong much longer? Do we have a plan? By the way, I see the Sowetan is reporting this morning that motorists are now fearing steep price increases and are inundating filling stations to buy diesel in bulk, even though government has called for calm, assuring citizens that supplies remain stable. And I wonder if you're one of those that have been filling up on your tanks or maybe diesel. What are you most concerned about? That's a conversation we're going to have with the Energy Department at 10. 10:30, we continue with our series looking at multilateral organizations in this changing geopolitical environment. We've already looked at the United Nations. We've looked at the World Bank. Last week we focused on the World Trade Organization, and today the focus is on the World Health Organization. Some people, became very familiar with the World Health Organization during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was the organization that really issued guidelines, it declared emergencies. It essentially helped coordinate the global response. But beyond those moments of crisis, there are many of us that still don't really fully understand what the World Health Organization is and how it works and why it matters, especially for us here in South Africa. So is it a global health authority with real power or more of an advisory body? Also, who makes the decisions? Who funds it? How much influence do politics have on its work? That's what we're going to be talking about at 10:30. And then we wrap up the show at 11 o'clock with our Family Matters feature. Today, we're discussing the various forms of discrimination within families, whether it's colorism, sexism, racism, homophobia, you name it. The reality is there are families that often describe themselves as safe havens. In fact, isn't that what we think of families? They're safe havens. The first places where we learn love, where we learn belonging and identity. But for some people, home can also be the first place where they encounter subtle and sometimes very overt forms of discrimination. So how do you even handle that if you find yourself in that situation? That's what we're discussing at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Clement. I went to that Live Golf on Friday. I used the park and ride, which was an experience on its own from Clearwater Mall. I didn't realize we're going to have 2 cop cars and motorbikes escort us there, which was kind of crazy. We weren't even stopping at red robots. We were like the government. Felt very special. Getting on arrival, it was long queues to get in, but what I will say is what a well-organized event. From food, drinks, and toilets, which is always issues when we have these big events in South Africa. Normally, you wait for days to get a beer. I didn't really struggle there. The toilets were clean. The staff were friendly. Great event. I didn't make the black coffee. I'm too old for that now. But all in all, very lucky event.
Congratulations to the organizers. Well done.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to 702 listeners. Listen, man. so Mkwana just touched the nerve. He has definitely touched the nerve on Julius Malema, and he's not addressing the real issues here. He's not saying anything about the mention of his name, the CIC Juju at the commission. He's just diverting the attention. And this is the same guy who was saying a couple of months ago that they've got a space for Julius Mkhwanazi in the EFF. Now that the ball has turned and his name is compromised, now suddenly Mkhwanazi is an enemy. This is a flip-flop out of note, Clement. Tabang in Rustenburg. Bye.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
15 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm going to come back to more of your calls and WhatsApps in a moment. I just want to address this elephant in the room. Or is it in the studio? So let's call it the elephant in the studio. Of course, we would be naive and quite ridiculous to act as if nothing happened this weekend and that there was no story in the Sunday Times that somehow has brought me in the mix of things. If you were not aware, so that you're not left behind, there was a story in the Sunday Times about Face the Nation on the SABC and the reasons that their sources gave them for the show being canned. And I know that there's some of you that are probably hoping, okay, are we going to talk about it this morning? Some of you have already given us calls, send us messages. But I just want to explain something quickly, and I hope you can indulge me, just for about 2 minutes or so. First of all, I want you to appreciate how tricky and complicated this is, of course, for me. Journalists don't ever want to be the story, and this is a very uncomfortable environment for any journalist, for that matter, to be the story. So it's a bit weird to make this even a discussion point on this platform, especially because the other party is not here to defend itself. But also, 702 has got nothing to do with what's transpired. So I don't want to abuse this platform. Because I could do an entire hour telling you my side of the story and revealing what I know. But I want to be the bigger person. And that includes not dedicating an entire hour on my radio show, which has got nothing to do with my TV show, going against another platform. That's not how I operate. And I hope you can understand that complexity. But secondly, I also don't want to censor you, because this is a platform we have created you and I together to allow for conversations, any conversation on the open line, as difficult and as awkward and uncomfortable as it can be. In fact, historically, this radio station is known for discussing issues that even have to do with itself. When there have been controversies surrounding the station or the Prime Media Group, we've never shied away from talking about it, even as presenters. And I don't want to come across as if because now I'm caught in this fight between the Sunday Times and the SABC, then I censor any conversation about that. That's not how I operate. So I won't censor you, but I just want you to understand that it would be unfair to spend an entire hour chatting about another institution which is not here to defend itself. I choose to be a much more bigger person here. Now, the last thing I want to explain is this, because of course some people wanted to know about, okay, what really transpired. I've already, you can check out the Sunday Times article. There's a comment I gave because I was just as surprised on Friday when I got a call from them. So for those who may be wondering what transpired and you're confused, I was told about the show being canned a month ago already, and we noted that decision. We accepted it because the reasons made sense, in fact, to us. We were told the SABC can't afford the show anymore. In that meeting, management told us this was a tough decision for them because this is one of their flagship shows. In fact, they even suggested they would consider bringing it back if they get funding from the government. That decision was very difficult for them. That's exactly what they told me. They know that. In fact, anyone close to me will tell you of what my plans were for this year, which then shows you that there's no interest in trying to speak bad about the SABC for cancelling a show. It's a decision that the SABC makes, and that's not a weird thing. But I think things changed on Friday when I got the call from the Sunday Times. And as soon as I got the call, I called my boss immediately, even before I gave comment to the Sunday Times. I called my boss and I said, what's going on? I just got a call from a journalist from the Sunday Times. Who said what? He was also equally surprised. And the situation deteriorated to a disappointing level because lies are now being told and misleading headlines are being run, which is now getting personal. And I don't think that's necessary. I spoke to management yesterday at the SABC about the headline that has been doing the rounds about the show being axed because it performed poorly. They assured me that that was wrong, that this is not what they approved, and they assured me that they're going to correct that. And I hope they can still do that because we can be bigger people here and not want to make this as messy as it's become because it wasn't meant to be. Because if things continue to be said, lies are continuing to be made, things are being leaked to position the show in a different way, which they know is not true, this gets messier. It doesn't help anyone. The SABC has a right to take decisions about its shows, and that's all of us have to respect. Whether you're a presenter, whether you are a person who watches the shows, whether you are heartbroken the show ends or not, that's a prerogative of the SABC. But what I take exception to is when things now get personalized. Now I'm being thrown into the mix as if I'm in the middle of the fight between what the Sunday Times reports and the SABC management. I've spoken to the people I need to talk to. I spoke to Vincent Magwenya about his tweet. He apologized. He even offered to come on the show. I just told him I don't really want to abuse this platform for that. But he's apologized for how he framed that tweet because it suggested I know a real reason that I'm not revealing out to the public. So there's no bad blood even between us, and there's never been. So I just thought I should give that context and not pretend as if nothing really happened, because a lot of you have contacted us, want to know what transpired. That's that, but I hope you can also appreciate that it's a bit awkward here to be the adjudicator and talk about things that involves me. And the unfair thing is that the other platform is not here to defend itself. And I don't think that's how we would want to manage it. And I also don't think that I'm choosing that we must be the bigger person and hope that this thing actually just gets resolved amicably and there's no need for people to get personal because it can get worse. It can get worse if things are revealed and people are going to likely even lose their jobs. And that's unnecessary. This is a relationship that existed, which worked when it existed, and now it's ended. And I just hope that we can all be adults and move on from it. That is my hope. Is it going to be the case? I don't know. But that's a position, at least, that I hold this morning, with no bad blood whatsoever, with an opportunity for, let's not be personal and tell lies. Let's just be honest and truthful. It's 22 minutes after 9 o'clock.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Martin, you're calling us from Soweto in Chiawelo. Good morning.
Hi, morning, Clement.
Hey, Tsara.
I was listening to U.S. Magwenya utterances now when he said he's not fighting parties between Konazi and that other gentleman whom I forgot his name. My surprise is whenever Malema is being exposed, his fingerprints are always appearing in corruption.
Yeah.
I was just telling your producer that Malema built a house for 16 million rand in Santini when he was still a member of the youth league. He was earning 30,000 rand per month. Tenders from Limpopo used to with his friend Clement Manyathela when I was a member of the youth league, the president of the youth league from the African National Congress, used to grab tenders in Limpopo for himself. EFF on its own there was a guy there, I forgot his name, this fake
Mazotti.
cigarette, Mazotti. He sponsored 250,000 rand from Malema's party.
Yeah, but we've known this, Martin. Why are you bringing that back now? What link does it have to what Malema is talking about? Because at least it appears to me, Martin, like Malema touched a nerve. He criticized someone that maybe you think he shouldn't have criticized, and now let's go back to who funded the EFF. What did the Julius Malema do back in 2008? And I'm not suggesting those things are not legitimate. I'm just saying, let's be also honest about why we're bringing those things back. Is it because he's now criticizing a man that you maybe think shouldn't be criticized?
Clement, I'm watching the commission here at home. That even last week Friday, I was watching Madam Commission.
Yeah.
Where Mkonas was explaining that Malema is close to the tax deposits, he mentioned a lot of things about Malema.
Yeah.
And then if you can see you can see what is happening at Madam Commission, they are talking about corruption there. 90% of what is being exposed, there is corruption between the politicians and those who are associated to the politicians. And Malema was part of what Mkonas was saying. Now,
got you.
if you was not offended to what the general was saying, he should have said what he said at his rally in Johannesburg on Saturday.
Okay, Martin in Chiawelo, Soweto, thank you for your contribution. Sipo, what do you think? Good morning.
Morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you doing?
Good, man. I nearly say, Konjalwe no man CM when I will see
CM.
They are the next thing, your names, you kind of blaming people. Malema, I kind of don't understand the guy. Last day he was praising Mkwanazi. Left, right, and center. We must protect Mkwanazi. No, we must compose a song. Now he's turning a tune. And Mkwanazi never did nothing to Malema. Fanny Nkosi, he's the one telling us how things are done. Politicians, business people, whoever in cabinet and in government. Hence, for example, this Adams and Ken. We never knew that the guys are the ANC. Malema is EFF. Everywhere in his podium, Malema, he's blaming ANC for corruption, he's blaming ANC for what. But on Mondays, they meet in Santini with this very same ANC gentlemen. He's doing business with them. In front of his people, EFF people, he's telling them lies, more especially young kids at his age, leading them with lies.
Sipo, can I ask?
Yes, pa.
When you say Malema was praising Mkwanazi last year, what is wrong with praising someone and also not seeing things in the same way later on? So what is wrong with me, for instance? Let me use my example. What if I praise Julius today? And then next week I criticize Julius because I think he's done something wrong or he said something that I think is factually incorrect or Like the way, like I've done so in the past, because some of the supporters of the EFF would come and say, "Oh, how dare you criticize this man? But last week you were just praising him. You are an anti-EFF person." So how is that different here? Why can't we take that Julius Malema supports General Mkhwanazi and appreciates the information that is shared, but he can also, in some issues, not see eye to eye? And it's okay for them to disagree like that. Why then must Malema then be branded the bad person here? And I'm not saying he's not wrong for what he's done. I'm just trying to raise the issue of, you praised him last year, now you've changed your tune. I don't think Malema says they don't support General Mkhwanazi anymore. He's just saying we disagree with him on this one part. And that can be a separate debate on what the disagreement is about. But the point is, it's okay for us to support people, agree with them, and next week, if something else happens, we can say, this time around, we think this is wrong.
Clement, I'm 100% with you. If today you criticize me, tomorrow you praise me. You praise me on what? You criticize me on what? This say of, you know, you can praise me, but when I hit you direct, because we just finished to say now you hate lies, you hate disloyal people whatsoever. If you do wrong, I just come straight to you. Then you come in on fire. Yeah, people is like this. No, it doesn't go like that. If I also talk to you directly in a wrong way, accept it, then let's deal with it. You're not supposed to make and shout about Mkhwanazi, this and that. And he's confusing people.
Okay, no, I hear you. Sipho in Katlehong. Thank you. Let's hear what the other listeners think on 011-883-0702. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Hey, morning, Clement. O'Brien for Storas. Clement, the issue with you at the SABC Face the Nation. Look, man, I just want to say, keep up the good job, man. We know you from radio. You are tough on your job. Your questioning is on level. So don't doubt yourself. We are very much thankful as your listeners. Is there a good thing to do? What you have done, we don't see anything wrong in it. Although, yes, there are talks here and there, but keep on doing the good thing. And pay your TV license. It is the right thing to do. Thank you, Clement.
Goeiemorgen, Clemmy. Floris here from the beautiful Western Cape. Clemmy, any comment about your show being pulled, Face the Nation? I don't see anything wrong with the way you are questioning people or how you interview people, man. Those people don't know what they are losing, man. Yeah. Either way, Clemmy, I would then rather just listen to your show on radio. It's their loss. Bye-bye. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Clems. Clems, I respect you for being the bigger person in this whole thing. You are so professional about this matter of the SABC and your show. But Clems, this matter is not about Clement Manyathela as a person. South Africans are angry because this is a threat to media freedom. You are doing a sterling job. And the reason that you provide, or that they provided to you, that the show was expensive, yes, fine. If you accept that, that's okay. But as citizens, we know that that is not the case. That's why on Twitter there was a statement from someone who purports to work for the SABC, who was saying the show did not do well. What do we say then? Thank you, Clems.
Yeah, thank you. Look, as I've said, I think I'm choosing that. I think let's be the bigger people. Let's be professional and not get out of hand. I think if this continues to be a fight, I'm sure the evidence is going to be revealed about the performance of the show that the bosses know very well. The evidence will be revealed about the pressures we've also faced, because that's never been a secret. But also evidence will be revealed of how the show, they were so happy with the show that they were willing to actually increase its episodes. I was just studying last year. I couldn't take on 4 or 3 shows a week. And they wanted me to increase that because they were encouraged by the success of the show. I'm just saying that the truth will reveal itself. It will. And I'm choosing that I don't want to be abusing this platform. I think we can leave it there. I just wanted to explain the things I explained, but I'm choosing to be the bigger person here because this will get unnecessarily dirty, and I don't think we need to even get there. And sometimes you just have to take the responsibility of choosing that other path, and that's the one I take. But the truth will reveal itself, my friends. It's 9:32. Let's get the latest in our Witness News headlines. Fiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Emergency services in the Northern Cape hope families will find closure now that all 5 mine workers at Ekapa mine have been retrieved from underground. It comes after 2 bodies were pulled out yesterday at the operations in Kimberley. The remains of one miner were found about 2 weeks ago after the group was trapped in a mudslide. Joburg residents who are without water are being urged to be patient while supply is slowly being restored. The city's Komando, Soweto and Deep South water systems are constrained. Places affected are Westbury, Westdean, Doornkop, Protea Glen and Lenasia. And Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have reported coming under fresh attacks this morning, with explosions and sirens sounding over the oil-rich Gulf. The Saudi Ministry of Defense says it has detected 2 incoming ballistic missiles targeting the capital, one of which was intercepted. And the UAE Defense Ministry says it's responded to incoming missile and drone threats from Iran, explaining the sounds heard are the results of the air defense systems intercepting missiles and drones. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling on the M1 North, we still have got queuing traffic between Boysons Road and Carr Street. That's due to a major accident right near the Carr Street off-ramp. If you are travelling on the M2 West, queuing traffic between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic reported on the M1 South. Roadworks are causing these delays coming out of the College Drive exit. And if you are heading towards Bedford View, please be on the lookout for delays between Edenville Road and the Glulis Interchange. Travelling in the city of Tshwane, we do have a slight backup reported on the R80 East Mabopane Highway, just as you come out of the hairpin bend, and that's due to the roadworks that are taking place along that route. More updates at the top of the hour. Do stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
U.S. interests in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and such areas has been the target of Iran. Are they not running the risk of having fellow Arab nations actually turning on them?
That Donald Trump did was to kill the Ayatollah on the first day. He immediately united the nations, united Iran as a nation together, which he hoped would divide the nation. Secondly, also to understand that there is a huge divide in the Middle East. We've seen this in the wars in Yemen and Syria. As a humanity, we need peacemakers and peace seekers, and this is our challenge in the world today.
Mike Bernard.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Winning the work is one thing. Funding it is another. When growth moves faster than cash, Bridgement gives you the cash flow to deliver, even when timing works against you. Apply online in minutes. Get up to 10 million rand in as little as 24 hours. Apply now at bridgement.com.
Bridgement. Business funding simplified.
Let's hear from Susan, owner of Leopard Song Manor, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
We were with our previous insurer for 13 years. Switching made me aware of things that we weren't covered for. It was a quick process. I saved a lot of money.
For boutique hotels, catering companies, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Why worry about getting lost when you can discover so much more? Don't settle for a pavement 4x4. Get the Tank 300 from only $7,399 per month with off-road navigation that helps you stay on track. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
It's 23 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let's start with you in Centurion. Good morning.
Morning, Madimecha.
Hey, Tada.
Orenda.
Hi, Kimnat. Go ahead.
I didn't know but I always appreciate your journalism.
Sure, Lehlogonolo.
So I always appreciate it, my man. You're doing a good job. But anyway, Asiko Lapo. Mamela. I think CICO will actually man. About being, there's no need to be defensive. I think the question that I was asked, it was asked to Mkonazi if he is closer to Khan, if they are friends with Khan. And I think Mkonazi answered by saying he believes so. Understand? If that's the issue, I mean, if he is close to Khan, he must just come out and explain to us, or Mamelang, yes, I'm close to this person, or no, I'm not close to this person. If I'm close, we are close, but we are close because of this and this and this. It's got nothing to do with what is happening now. Understand? So there was no need to come out all defensive. It looks like now. Someone is hiding something, the way it looks like. You understand? By our politicians, I think by man, they lose it there by coming out and wanting to become defensive, and then an 1 hour Facebook live wanting to explain, telling people about people's mothers and all of that. You just need to keep calm. Even if you don't give out a verbal statement, you can give out a written statement and say, I will let the law take its course. I will let the investigation take its course. If I'm guilty, I will accept it. If I'm not, I will fall for the consequence. I will take the consequences. Okay. So and then when I attack people, it makes look like they're hiding something, even if you're not hiding anything at times. Yeah. Okay. Lehlogonolo in Centurion, thank you for your contribution. Tulani, you are in Centurion. What do you want to say? You were at Live Golf.
Yes, I was, Clement. I was.
Big John.
I attended the Friday edition. No, it was really, really spot on, man. The organizers of that event are really, really the best. Everything was just spot on. The only criticism that I have, Clement, is that the event is held in a residential estate. As a result, for example, the hospitality suite closed pronto at 5 o'clock.
Oh, no.
Everyone was told to leave. So
on a Friday.
Yeah. And he would understand. I mean, we still wanted to set, but because it's in a residential estate, they have to chuck you out. So that's the one thing. The other thing I wanted to raise, Clement, and I think you and I are going to agree on this one. I think we're going to win this league this year. Pirates is on fire.
Oh no, we are. Did you see what we did this weekend?
I tell you.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I want to. I hope Hugo Bruce can take Siema. I mean, I think Siema is one of the best centre backs that we have in this country. His pairing with Mbogazi was the best, and I don't know why Hugo Bruce hasn't noticed him as a player. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to raise, Clement, is your school visits. In the event you do get an invitation from a school in Tembisa, please let me know. I'd like to accompany you. Thank you very much.
Oh, great. Tulani, I've actually received a number of invitations. Let me get Zintle to take your contacts, because I'm actually going to, I've been asked to come speak at another school around Joburg in a couple of weeks' time. So I'll contact you. Let's see what we can do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tulani. And let's go to Mokhatla Tsipi in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning, how are you, Clement?
I'm all right, my brother. Go ahead.
Proper. Yeah, Clement, whatever people like to hold the EFF accountable for things they say, but don't hold the ANC and the DA accountable for things they do. You would have seen with the open border issue, they don't care much about the ANC. That's actually allowing illegal foreigners to come in the country. and the DA's core constituency that's hiring them. So I'm saying when that Clement, over South Africa, we have a very gullible and a confused bunch who will drag a black man over allegations and wants them to go to jail at all costs. But they're okay with having, pro-apartheid individuals as ministers. So that's what we are dealing with here. Perception, when Clement, I'm sure you know this. Perception is everything. We cannot pretend like Malema was not already found guilty by all these people before the commission could even start. I agree with Malema is always guilty until proven innocent. Remember when he wanted Mkhwanazi to be subpoenaed after he dictated when to appear before them. People were already saying Malema is corrupt and talking a whole lot of nonsense.
When he said, Julia, Mkhwanazi needs to come back to the commission to retract the statement he made about Bheki Cele, because remember Mkhwanazi sent a message to the committee, to the ad hoc committee, and said, "Hey, I made an error." And then they said, no, he must come here to retract it. And some people were already unhappy about even that suggestion from Malema, and then trying to point him as he's now defending something when actually. But also Malema was very supportive of General Mkhwanazi in the beginning. Yeah, my worry, Mokhatla Tsipi, is why can't the two exist? Like, I can be in support. You can agree with me today about something, Mokhatla Tsipi, and 2 months later, you and I still disagree on the issue of the EFF. But
yes,
that's okay. That's how it should be.
Yes. So I'm saying Mkhwanazi has the responsibility as well not to make statements that have truth. He must be responsible in that he give full truth and not just throw in names without giving context. He makes this regular statement on a public platform, which is Parliament. And people will not wait for a final report to form an opinion on every allegation he makes. They want clarity, and Malema did just that. So I understand that, Clement.
Yeah. All right, Mokhatla Tsipi, thank you so much for your contribution. Let's go to your WhatsApps, 072-702-1702. Okay, before we get to those, let me read some text now. Tabucho on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, wow, the fact that Mkhwanazi has misled the ad hoc committee and created an impression that Khan introduced him to Malema while he actually asked for a meeting is being ignored. Backtracking on Cele Meta and producing prison letters as evidence before Parliament, taking people's names deliberately without any forensic evidence. The Messiah complex is real in this country. That's a message from Tabucho on the WhatsApp line. Hey, yeah. The other one says, hi, Clement. The dog got the beating up until the owner comes out. I'm happy the EFF is feeling the heat. Gone are the days when people can take advantage of South Africa. We are watching. That's a message from Vincent. Another one says, morning, Clement. I've never said anything about the EFF. He just said, Mkhwanazi never said anything about the EFF. He just said he knew Julius via Khan. Unless I'm missing something, has he said anything bad about the EFF and Malema? The guilty ones are always afraid. In fact, for listeners who may not remember what General Mkhwanazi said about Khan and the EFF, just take a listen and you decide then if Julius Malema's response was then appropriate.
This is an indication of the influence and the access that General Khan has in politicians. So he bragged about it when he told me. To what extent, I did not know. But as you receive information and you get to realize that this man, he is indeed connected to many politicians. I said the lead of EFF, for the first time for me to sit with him, is because it's Khan that took me to go and meet with him. Well, obviously, he had his concerns about the rallies and everything they were going to have there, which he would have met me anyway via Khan. But for whatever reason, Khan arranged that meeting so that we could meet and talk about the concern that they were having as a party. But that was an indication, according to what I observed, that the man is very close to politicians.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Morning, Madimeja Mwagui and Jobek. Madimeja, the CIC is misreading this thing. Like, I don't know, he doesn't read the room. Like, I can't understand him. Because I've listened to Mukwanas. There's no way he's accusing Julius Malema or mentioning the EFF that they are doing the wrong things. They live in Kosi there at Madlanga Commission. The person who's mentioning Julius and the EFF on those corruption tenders in Tswana, but he's here attacking Mukwanas. That means there's something wrong that Malema is doing. There's something wrong that Malema is doing. Yeah, even me, I was wondering, where was this Malema, this information he was getting from? Kanti was getting the information from Khan and Sivia. Now he can't read the room, this guy. Nah, man, he can't read the room. He must read the room. Have a great one.
Morning, Clement. Not because particularly I'm a fan of Malema, but I think you've also mentioned it, that I think we must be very careful that nobody is beyond reproach. This idea that Mkhwanazi, yes, he blew the whistle, he did the right thing, he exposed corruption, but let's not place him on this pedestal that he cannot be questioned, or like Malema said, anybody who questions his credential automatically is corrupt. I think let's be very, very careful that there are no sacred cows. Mkhwanazi is human. I think you've alluded to this in the past.
And I was attacked.
He's human, and there's this movement, this Mkhwanazi movement, early on social media, that you touch Mkhwanazi, it means that you are corrupt. Mkhwanazi is human. Prince, Bedfordville.
Yeah, and Prince, I mean, I've held my position in the past and I got attacked for it. I mean, I took it. That's part of the work. I realized the desperation that some of us have for a hero, to a point that there'll be blind loyalty. What's interesting to me is the very same people who are attacking you when you criticize, whether it's General Mkhwanazi or Sibia, are the very same people now who are coming out and saying, no, but Mkhwanazi must also be willing to be criticized. And once again, nobody can take away from what General Mkhwanazi has done. I mean, my goodness, what he has revealed has saved this country from much more than what could have been. And I think this nation owes him for that. And I'm sure the EFF still takes the same position. But there's this idea then that nobody can then disagree with him. And when you disagree with him on something, then you are corrupt. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it is. It's okay for you to go, okay, but Julius, why are you being unfair? You are being too defensive in your response because Mkhwanazi only said 1, 2, 3. You are giving an impression that he meant 1, 2, 3. Maybe question that, but the premise cannot be that, how dare you criticize this person because he can't be criticized? Then that means you are corrupt and you are hiding something. I don't think that's healthy. In fact, what's healthy, any healthy relationship, is that there'll be ups and downs. In this case, the EFF still supports Mkhwanazi. I haven't found any statement or anyone from the EFF who's come out to say, actually, this guy, we don't support him anymore. They support what he said. They're appreciative of what he's done. It's just that now they disagree on how this relationship between Malema and Khan is being positioned in the public. That's where they disagree on. But that doesn't take away from the work General Mkhwanazi has done. And we shouldn't take it there, I think. More of your thoughts after the break. It's 10 minutes before 10.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
Andile here with more than just a betting app ad. Download the 10Bet app and enjoy the action of betting anytime, anywhere. It's more than just an app. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
This Easter, it's time to do it proper.
Join us at Chamberlain's superb Easter savings from the 19th of March to the 6th of April. We have everything you need to make your spot lacquer. Grab the Tenco camping chair for just 449 Rand. That's camping, done proper. Light the fire with the right gear. That's braai, done proper. And give your home a glow up with 10% off paint mixing on Chamber Value and Finest 1983 paints. That's DIY, done proper. One store, one stop, one proper setup. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Some moments are personal. Some spaces are professional. All of them deserve care. At Frond and Filigree, we create handcrafted floral experiences for life's meaningful moments and the places where they happen. From birthdays and anniversaries to hotels, offices and events, our bespoke arrangements are designed with artistry and intention. Because when flowers are done right, they elevate every moment. Visit frondandfiligree.co.za.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Hey, morning, Clement. Does Julius ever want to win the elections and be president? Because I think this guy keeps shooting himself in the foot every chance he opens his mouth. Like you don't mess with South Africa's darling, hey? Like you don't mess with Mkhwanazi's name and talk the things you're saying, and he's just no. I think he's one of those people that have verbal diarrhea. Yeah, icon. Cooks from Devland.
Good morning, Clement Manyathela and 702 listeners. I do follow the sport of golf. I think Leave for coming to South Africa has brought some economic benefits, because they say for every 13 tourists, there is one employment that has been created. And we are also being told that it raised almost 800 million worth of economic value. Therefore, I think it was a good initiative to bring into our shores. Thank you.
Morning, Clement. Clement, I just want to say the Live Golf experience, that was crazy. It actually just showed me that crime in this country is probably a business for some others. It made no sense to me why there was so many cops escorting buses every intersection in 4 ways, all the way up to Bryanston had a police car parked next to it, just standing there, idle. It made absolutely zero sense. I would like to see how many crimes were committed in the inner city of Johannesburg, Randburg, while so much cops were reserved just to present or prepare for the Live Golf experience, which was hosted on private property, by the way, not even government property, private property. Anyway, thanks, Max from the West.
Yeah, Max, thank you. And once again, I mean, congratulations to the organizers. They really did the best. I remember I was following just how the build-up, of course, to Live. I played golf at Staines City a couple of weeks before this tournament this past weekend, and you could see just the work that was being done there to make sure that the pitch, the course is ready. So it looks like, in partnership, of course, with our government, they've pulled it. They really have pulled off an incredible tournament. Now let's work towards getting Formula One back to South Africa, because we can do it.
Good morning, Clement. Sammy here in the Free State. No, I attended the Leave Golf SA. Wow, what a beautiful organized event. I attended Friday and Saturday. Wow, it was very, very good. And black coffee, wow. No. Well done to the organizers of the tournament. Thank you.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Tsepo, you're calling from Lombardi East. Good morning.
Good morning. Listen, 80% of the issues brought by Mkhwanazi, we believe, and he has saved the country. Mm-hmm. But there is this thing that Rona, South Africans, we tend to, actually not only South Africans, the whole entire world. There are people who follow Malema. Whatever he says is true. And you will find people who follow Bushiri. Whatever he says is true. Now, when there is allegations against those people, we tend to forget the facts and leave the facts behind. We don't show care of our country. Mm. Right now, Mkhwanazi is bringing this issue against Malema. And I tend to believe most of the things that are said by Malema, but I criticize as well. But now I want us to put us in this position. Let us wait for facts, evidence, and then we move. The noise that has been made. Somebody was saying, do we know how Juju speaks? Juju always shouts when he speaks. When he's calm, it's less than 10% of his time. But I think we need to educate ourselves that we don't have to follow people by heart and blood and everything. Let's check the facts. And right now, there's a guy called Pastor Michael Sandlana. He bribed Judge Patlani in Pretoria there. Right now, the man is accused of hijacking IPAC church. People are following him. They don't want to listen to the facts. They even wanted to open a police van when it was going out of court. So it is the problem that we have as the nation.
Tsapo in Lombardy East, thank you for your contribution.
702 Drive with John Perlman.
My show is about keeping our listeners company in the last part of the day in the most interesting and entertaining way that we possibly can. So the crucial thing for us is we've got to provide them with a mix. The news, yes, the big stories, of course, but we've got to talk about other things that make them laugh, make them think about things they've never thought about, and most important, that invite them to have a conversation with us. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land. First of all, I should just say people never stop surprising me. And the thing that is perhaps the thing I love the most is people manage to find things that make them laugh. And they don't laugh from a place of ridicule. They laugh from a place of deep humanity, because our ability to laugh has got us through so much over these many decades, and we're going to need it plenty in the decades to come.
702 Drive with John Perlman, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Why argue with your teenage know-it-all when you can feel more in control? Get the Haval H6 from only $6,299 per month with intelligent voice command technology that does not backchat. Perfect. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his client sorted. Sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We start with news just in. The Labour Court has dismissed an urgent application by suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi to interdict his disciplinary hearing. The embattled top cop had approached the court, hoping he wouldn't have to answer to the city for his alleged dodgy dealings. Mkhwanazi has been at the centre of allegations of police corruption at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. He is accused of having links to suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Matlala and also fraudulently registering Matlala's private vehicles under the city's name. Emergency services in the Northern Cape hope families will find closure now that all 5 mine workers at Ekapa mine have been retrieved from underground. It comes after 2 bodies were pulled out yesterday at the operations in Kimberley. The remains of 1 miner who was found about 2 weeks ago after the group was trapped in a mudslide. Mine Rescue Services spokesperson Manasfori.
Yes, we concluded in the early mornings this morning. So we took out all the people that was missing during the mud crash that occurred. And yes, it's nice for us to conclude and to give closure to the families and to be appreciative of our rescue team members that did this work safely for us.
Joburg residents who are without water are being urged to be patient while supply is slowly being restored. The city's Commando, Soweto and Deep South water systems are constrained. Places affected are Westbury, Westdean, Doornkop, Protea Glen and Lenasia. Jabulile Mbata reports.
Joburg Water says the affected systems are experiencing challenges due to low water levels in the respective reservoirs. To help improve this, the water entity is conducting regular and unscheduled water cuts. These interventions will help bring water levels to increased supply. High-lying areas will be the last to receive water. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
The Wynberg Regional Court is expected to decide the fate of alleged paedophile Ian Weyers today. The 86-year-old former teacher is on trial for allegedly sexually abusing a learner at a school in 1988. Child advocacy group Women and Men Against Child Abuse has accused Weyers of attempting to avoid accountability by claiming memory loss. Weyers has testified that he taught around 2,700 boys during his career and cannot remember individual learners. Ntutuzelo Nene reports.
The Wynberg Regional Court is expected to deliver judgment in the child sexual abuse case today. Women and Men Against Child Abuse says Wez's testimony cannot be accepted as justification for the alleged abuse. The group is calling for a verdict that reflects the seriousness of the allegations and is urging the court to reject any minimization of abuse. Founding director Miranda Jordan says the case highlights both the resilience of survivors and ongoing challenges within the justice system. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
The Western Cape High Court is set to hear a landmark legal challenge against proposed deep water oil and gas drilling off the country's west coast. The court will today and tomorrow consider an application to overturn environmental authorization granted to Total Energies for exploration drilling in the deep western Orange Basin. The basin stretches from off the coast of Saldanha Bay northward towards the Namibian border. Carlo Peterson takes a look.
The case has been brought by the Arcatoa Fisheries Cooperative, environmental group The Green Connection and public interest law organisation Natural Justice against the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. They argue the department's approval process was flawed and inconsistent with the Constitution, environmental law and the country's climate and energy commitments. Outside court, close to 100 small-scale fishers are expected to stage a peaceful protest. They say offshore drilling threatens marine ecosystems, food security and livelihoods along the coast. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have reported coming under fresh attacks this morning, with explosions and sirens sounding over the oil-rich Gulf. The Saudi Ministry of Defense says it has detected 2 incoming ballistic missiles targeting the capital, one of which was intercepted and the other fell in an uninhabited area. The UAE Defense Ministry says it's responded to incoming missiles and drone threats from Iran, explaining the sounds heard are the result of the air defense systems intercepting missiles and drones. Residents in Abu Dhabi were urged to remain calm and head to nearest safe places. Gulf nations that have long billed themselves as oases of safety and stability in the region have been drawn into the Middle East war as Iran retaliates against U.S.-Israeli strikes. The Islamic Republic has taken aim at U.S. assets as well as civilian infrastructure, including landmarks, airports, ports and oil facilities around the Gulf. Gold is trading at $4,222.38 an ounce. The rand is at 17.24 to the dollar, 22.90 to the pound, 19.87 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $113.22 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays. In fact, heavy traffic volumes on the M1 South. This is between Greyston Drive and the Killarney Bends. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. Please be on the lookout there. And if you're traveling within the Bedfordview area, do expect delays on the N12 West as well as the N3 South between the Glulies Interchange and Van Buren Road.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Labour Court has dismissed an urgent application by suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Top Cop Deputy Chief Justice Julius Mkhwanazi to interdict his disciplinary hearing.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 10 o'clock. Sanmonani Dumelang. Good morning. Bonjour. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I hope you're good this morning. And as always, I appreciate your contribution. And today, more so, your understanding on the 702 open line today. At 10:30, remember, we're going to continue our series that's looking at multilateral organizations in the changing geopolitical environment. We've already looked at a few: the United Nations, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, and today we're going to be focusing on the World Health Organization. And then at 11 o'clock, have you ever been discriminated or faced any form of in discrimination in your family? It happens, right? And you would never think that families can actually have an expression of prejudice or discrimination against loved ones in that unit. Because you would think that in a family environment, that's where at least your primary support comes from. But there are instances where families have been homophobic to their loved ones. There are instances where there's been racism, where there's been sexism, when there's been colorism. How do you deal with a scenario like that? That's what we're going to be discussing on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
But right now, we start our conversation with the Department of Energy. So the war in the Middle East, as you've seen, has entered its fourth week now. The conflict has disrupted key energy routes, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of the world's oil supply passes. And this conflict continues to trigger the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. So how are we being affected as South Africans? And do we have a plan should the war prolong much longer? Remember, this conflict has already pushed international crude oil prices above the $100 billion per barrel, creating uncertainty in global energy markets. And now we know this will have a significant knock-on effect on fuel prices in April. So let's get a sense of where the situation is now with the Energy Department. And we'll get to that, in fact, in a moment. But I want to have a chat with them. I want to also bring in the Chief Executive at the Fuel Industry Association of South Africa, because they've done their own analysis looking at what the situation is likely to look like. So let me start with them, and then I'll bring in the DG at the Energy Department. Sidiso Makubela, let's start here, in fact. Abafani Chifularo is the Chief Executive at the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa. And then afterwards, we'll bring in the DG at the Department of Energy. Abafani, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you and listeners.
Yeah, so from an industry standpoint, how exposed do you think South Africa's fuel supply chain to these disruptions in the Middle East is, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz?
So, Clement, it's very important just to indicate that South Africa, unfortunately, is not blessed with oil or big plants where we can manufacture our own petroleum products. So we import both crude oil and finished products. So the refining capacity that we have in the country, it meets roughly 30% of our own requirements. But our crude refineries, obviously, they are heavily reliant on the imported crude oil because we don't have our own crude oil. So roughly 70% of our demand is met by imports. So that on its own, it exposed the country and the sector to any political, dynamics in the international, front. And because, the oil and the oil products are priced in the dollar, it means we'll also be exposed to exchange rate fluctuations. Right now, under this current environment, you will see that the rand will also weaken, so that does not really help us as a country. And because also imports, you rely heavily on vessels that are bringing product, the freight cost will also increase. So there are just so many factors that are outside the country that affect us, not by choice, because it's just something that's there.
Okay. I'll come back to you in a moment, Ava Fani. Let's bring in Jacob Mbele now, who's the Director General at the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. Mr. Mbele, thank you for also joining this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to the listeners.
Yeah. Can we start by confirming whether or not we are experiencing a fuel shortage yet, or nearing that position as this war continues?
Clement, I can confirm from the government side and even from the supplier side, and Fanny can confirm that as well, that in the near term, we do not anticipate shortage of product. We believe that the country is covered up to the second half of April. I think it's important to indicate that, as Fanny indicated, we get most, if not all of our supplies, most of our supplies, obviously as imports. And there is a replenishment cycle that is in place. Every 6 weeks, we expect finished products to come through. And every 3 months or so, we expect crude to come through. And the orders that have been confirmed confirm that we have sufficient supply until towards the end of April. And we expect that in consultation with the industry, more orders are being placed. We are not at this point anticipating any problems, but we do recognize that the situation is fluid. Things can change overnight. That's the message here.
Okay, but are we not having problems with the shipment of the fuel?
At this point in time, all the majors that we spoke to since last week have indicated that everything is going according to how they've placed the orders. I think the issue that is there that seems to be confused is localized shortages. It's distribution within the country. I spoke to one supplier this morning who indicated to us that on their side, they've seen on the diesel side, they've seen a surge of close to about 30% in terms of demand just in the last week. And we know what that will do. Obviously, it will run because there are logistical processes behind every supply point, and those are planned on the basis of known demand. If suddenly there's a surge, that may lead to that particular facility running down, and then it may have then to wait to be replenished. But it's not a signal of shortage of product in the country. There is sufficient product in the country.
Okay, and what happens if beyond April this war continues? What options are we looking at, and is there a way you can then intervene as government to cushion the blow?
If you look at what the majors have done, they've obviously started supplying us from their other hubs. Because all these oil majors, they operate across the world, so they've got other hubs where they can source supply. But we know that supply is constrained in a sense that everyone is now going for the same supply. So yes, there are behind the scenes discussions that we are trying to ensure that we are prioritized, but again, this is a commercial environment where we cannot say that product will come from a particular country, etc., etc. But there are discussions, and we are looking at options as a country as well. I think while the focus is on the supply side, I think one needs to emphasize that we need to also put the message out there that as consumers, in times like this, we need to change our behavior. We also cannot behave as if everything is, is normal. We need to look at our usage to make sure that what we have can take us longer as a country and as users.
Okay. The last full price forecast I saw from the Central Energy Fund indicated that 95 octane petrol could see a price increase of over 5 rand in April. Diesel expected to see, I think, 8.60 price increase, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, as you can imagine, there are some South Africans that have begun to panic. Are you saying to them that there's no need to panic? Because, there are some that went into panic buying these fuel products, and they've even inundated filling stations to try and get particularly diesel.
Yes, as you said, we expect prices to increase, but from a supply point of view, we believe that there's no shortage, and we're urging people obviously not to rush to the pumps and start stockpiling, because you just then create a disturbance in the system, which will then have ripple effects to everyone.
What's the worst case scenario for us, Mr. Mbele? So let's say if it gets to May and this war continues and the disruptions there by the Strait of Hormuz continue, then what's the consequence on us? Because I've seen some experts warning that, if this conflict is prolonged, as government, you may be compelled to even reintroduce drastic conservation measures. And I wonder if that is an option in the worst case scenario. And what does that look like?
We through the economic cluster, there is work that is led by the DTIC that is being done to look at these options. But yes, if there's no supply, you have to look at demand side interventions to make sure that the little that you have can take you longer. So at this point in time, my view is that no option should be off the table. As to what those options are going to be and the form they're going to come with, I think that is work in progress, and I wouldn't want to jump the gun. Mm-hmm. But yes, we have to look at demand side. We have to look at usage as an option. And there are many other options that you could look at. Economy wide. There's people in other countries, they talk about rationing. We went through COVID where people work from home. Is that an option? I guess those studies that work will put forward the options in terms of the workplace.
Yeah. And as long as there's a plan, Mr. Mbele, because we don't want a situation where we become reactive. We have to plan, of course, for different scenarios, because nobody knows how long this war is going to continue. A lot of our listeners on the WhatsApp line are asking about our strategic oil reserves. How much do we have in that, and how long could they last us for? Are they adequate to meet international standards for supply crisis?
Look, I think this number is out in the open. We have about 8 million.
Is that sufficient?
Barrels of strategic. That if you look at the consumption, that is equivalent to about a month's worth of supply.
A month.
Yes. But I have to indicate that I spoke to, I won't mention the name, but one of the suppliers. Currently in their stockholding, they've got one of the refineries. They've got 2 months worth of supply, and we have 2 refineries. So those refineries do have some buffers with them. There are orders that have been placed. I'm aware that there's about 3 million barrels that is on the way by one of the suppliers. So we should not look at this number in isolation. We should look at it in totality with the other supplies that are there from the refining plants.
Okay. Jacob Mbele, let me thank you. Director General at the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. We still have Avafani Chifularo on the line, who is with the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa. Avafani, The common question I'm getting now from our listeners is that, yes, we hear what the department is saying, that there's no immediate shortage risk, but the prices are rising. How do we then explain it in simple terms so that they get to understand where we're at here?
Yeah, I think the rising prices is like an area of concern for everyone right now because, as you have indicated, based on the Central Energy Fund published data, is showing a steep increase in the month of April. So that's the reality that we need to face. I think it's the major cause of panic buying. Because I would like to believe that the issue of supply of products, it's evident that we've got enough products. Otherwise, we'll have seen a lot of facilities running dry by now. I think we are week 4 of the war. And so the planned imports have been coming throughout this period. Vessels are landing and discharging all the time. So I think what is really important, because we don't want to reach a situation where we artificially force shortage at the sites because people are rushing. Because if we get into that point, it's very difficult to recover. It will take us a little bit longer to make sure that all those sites that are dry needs to replenish. So that's why we encourage people to say stick to your normal refueling patterns. Don't suddenly want to visit the service station every second day because there is enough fuel, as you have heard from the DG Bele. So what is important is that we need to separate what is stuff that is affected by war, because once product is inside the country, it's now into a normal distribution system, which is not really affected by what is happening out there. It's now a function of the capability of our own logistics. So our own logistics has been functioning on the basis of assumed demand, which is roughly 67 million liters per day. So if suddenly that demand is now moved to let's say 80 million per day because people are hoarding fuel and putting some extra fuels in some drums, it's not going to help us. There's no way the system can immediately cope with that surge.
Yeah. Okay. South Africa, at least from some observations, has become increasingly reliant on imported refined fuel due to refinery closures. How does that amplify our risk in this geopolitical crisis? And do you think fuel companies are already diversifying supply routes or sourcing from alternative markets to avoid this Middle East disruption?
Yes, there are some companies that were sourcing fuel from areas that are now affected by the Middle East conflict, which have now either diversified or either they've moved that sort of demand to other companies. So I think, Clement, what you need to remember is that South Africa is not blessed with oil our fellow countries Angola, Nigeria. So whether you've got a refinery or no refinery, you still depend on the imported feedstock, because crude oil, we don't have crude oil. We need to import it. Let's assume that we did not even, we had refineries, we were manufacturing all our requirements. We were still going to be exposed to the issue of high oil prices because the crude oil itself has moved up and it's affected by the conflict itself. So either way, as long as you don't have your own natural resource, you are dependent on imports, you are going to be exposed. So if down the line maybe we have major discovery, that is a long period of time, that will change the equation altogether. But as it stands now, we are exposed to the global sort of conflict. Either way.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And do you think there are contingency planning, issues that exist within the fuel industry, contingency measures, if this conflict becomes prolonged? Do you get a sense that we are prepared for sustained volatility? Because we've got to prepare even for the worst case scenario.
Our biggest area of concern is the elevated prices. Because you can just think about it, 30 rand per liter, price, that's like hectic. So that's really where we are concerned. But in terms of bringing product and continuing to supply the market, we are really not worried that much there. So if we reach a point where it becomes even difficult for companies to afford these prices at the international market, then you're going to have a problem. But we are not there. We are not there. As long as we are still able to, pay for the price in the international market, we don't see any problem, in terms of supplying the country. We see that, yes, it's going to be extremely difficult. That is why we are working very closely with government to really start to look at those scenarios that you are painting, to say what happens if the war goes beyond May, June, and maybe 6 months. What do we do as a country? So we are looking into those scenarios in terms of making sure that we are prepared so that we're not caught off guard.
Well, thank you so much for coming through to help us understand the situation we find ourselves in, especially now that there are some South Africans who are panic buying diesel. Apparently, some are inundating filling stations to try and stockpile. In fact, on the on Twitter, John says, Clement, government is lying to us. There are filling stations that don't have diesel as we speak. So people are quite concerned. So it's important to just touch base with industry, but also the Department of Energy to get a sense of where we are, and if they can, just calm some tensions and reassure South Africans that there's a plan in place should this war prolong. So thank you to Avafani Chifularo, who's the Executive Director at the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa.
702. The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, coming up after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines, we continue the series that we started a couple of weeks ago, looking at multilateral organizations in this changing geopolitical environment. We've started by looking at the United Nations. We then focused on the World Bank, and then last week we looked at the World Trade Organization, and today we're going to be focusing on the World Health Organization. And I know there are some of us that may not be very familiar with how this World Health Organization actually operates. We saw it a lot during the COVID-19 pandemic. They were issuing guidelines, they were declaring emergencies, they were helping coordinate global response. But beyond those moments of crisis, we need to understand fully what the World Health Organization is, how it works, what it matters, who has influence over it, and how does it benefit even us, especially here in South Africa. That conversation coming up after the headlines. It's 10:30. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. It's been revealed at the Madlanga Commission that police once raided the home of Gauteng cop Sergeant Fani Nkosi in search for a credit card belonging to suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Kat Matlala. The raid at Nkosi's home took place on the 8th of October last year, and the card was found in Nkosi's possession. Nkosi has read out a statement before the Commission this morning about why he had the card on him. The Labour Court has dismissed an urgent application by suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi to interdict his disciplinary hearing. The embattled top cop had approached the court hoping he wouldn't have to answer to the city for his alleged dodgy dealings. Mkhwanazi has been at the centre of allegations of police corruption at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And a pilot and a co-pilot have been killed when a passenger plane collided with a fire engine in New York. The crash happened on a runway on the LaGuardia Airport this morning. The Federal Aviation Administration says the aircraft was arriving from Canada. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In Edenville, there's been an accident on the N12 East. It happened right near Edenville Road. It's causing delays. There's also queuing traffic reported on the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kidulis interchange. While traveling on the N3 South, also expect delays between the Kidulis turn off and Van Buren Road. In the Germiston area, an accident reported along the M2 West. It's right near the Geldenhuys interchange. Delays as you come out of Refinery Road. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. If you are still traveling on the Mark 1 South, we still have got delays between Glenhove Road and the Killarney Bends. That's due to the roadworks that are taking place along this route. And it's still raining in some parts of Gauteng, so please be on the lookout if you are traveling on the roads. Do remember to keep your headlights on as well as a safe following distance. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding a till with no queue on payback weekend. 27-year-old Lynn saves a mind-blowing 638 Rand on her 2025 Haval Jolion. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. It is a season information online.
Why get a workhorse that makes you do all the work when you can get so much more? Don't settle. Get the GWM P300 from only 5,672 per month with a 2.4-liter turbo diesel automatic that delivers on work, play, and life. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of West Bank, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
At Checkers, Easter is better and better with extra savings on every shop. Get more for less with deals on Mr. Sweet chocolate mallow eggs, 24 per pack for $99.99. Jacob's Kroning or Gold caffeinated instant coffee, 200 or 230 grams for $159.99. And Baby Soft 2-ply white or supreme quilts toilet rolls, 18 per pack for $129.99. Deals valid until 6 April. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
7:02.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes before 11 o'clock. All right, let's get into that conversation about the World Health Organization. I've already explained a little bit about when it became quite prominent, but I think we need to get deeper into this global health authority, which has got so much power, right? It's more than probably just an advisory body, but it makes decisions, and we need to understand who funds it and how much influence do politics have on its work, and importantly, how do the World Health Organization's policies and recommendations filter down into our own healthcare systems, from how diseases are managed to how vaccines are rolled out? You know, in a world where health threats are increasingly global, whether it's pandemics or climate-related illnesses or ongoing battles with diseases like TB and HIV, understanding institutions like the World Health Organization actually becomes even more important. Professor Alex van den Heever is the chair of the Social Security Systems Administration and Management Studies at Wits University School of Governance, joining us on the line. Prof, thank you so much for making time. Thank you for coming through to guide this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's just start with the basics of understanding the World Health Organization. How would you describe it to a lay person, and when exactly was it formed?
Sorry, I don't have the start date of it, but it's certainly over the last, it's existed in the post-war period and formed part of a sort of a collection of United Nations organizations that have been set up essentially to deal with multilateral issues. WHO was formed as its members are governments of countries, and that can impact on its nature. But in essence, it becomes a global standards organization. It sets standards. It provides information on health systems. it tries to coordinate action internationally. I would say that rather than it having any institutional power, it largely has a sort of an advisory role to play, and it has influence rather than power. But it's in a position to deal with global health issues that might be poorly managed just at a country level, where you need to kind of look at a sort of more of a multilateral approach.
I mean, it's been around for what, 77 years now. How has it evolved over the years? And I mean, the world must have felt like it needed a single global health body like this after World War II. But is that original reason still relevant today? How have we seen this organization evolve over time?
Well, it remains quite relevant in getting collective action at the government level. I'd say its weakness is that it only operates through governments. So it actually makes what WHO can do somewhat difficult, because if it can't go in and attack a government on what it's doing. So it's very tentative. Like if it was engaged in South African health reform or policies, etc., it would largely have to be very careful wary of making sure that it doesn't undermine the government. So as a body that works through governments, it's going to be very let's say it's not going to be hypercritical. But what it does do is it provides a considerable amount of information and data, which allows countries to compare themselves and their performance across countries. They can set standards. They can identify issues through setting up expert committees, which can discuss those. So there's quite a lot of experts from South Africa who participate in WHO committees. And from those committees, even though it's intergovernment, which tends to reduce, it can be sort of lowest common denominator issues. If there's huge conflict with one country, it's going to contradict their values or what they see as important. People are going to be very careful about the language of any kind of international agreement. It's going to kind of gravitate towards the position where everybody can agree and where every government can agree. You realize that quite a lot can be left out.
Yeah.
So it does have to be careful and diplomatic, and there's a lot of institutional politics that operates around how it functions. But I would say that it's and those are always a kind of negatives. But the WHO does serve a very important purpose in collaborating in a complex area.
So how are those institutional politics settled, though? Because we're looking at 194 member countries here, and I'm sure some listeners are wondering, how does an organization that big actually make decisions? Who is really in charge here? We understand, in fact, that there are some, donors who help put in money in the World Health Organization, and one wonders how far their influence goes in the decisions that this global body takes.
Yeah, so it can be sort of one can speculate. It's not easy to get evidence of what the dynamics are. But quite clearly, funders are going to be very important in determining agendas, and that includes both countries who are the largest donors, and if there are private donors that are very crucial as well. Their voice is going to be given a degree of respect. But as an organization itself, if it completely undermines the trusts of smaller countries and smaller, who are donating less, they're going to withdraw from such an organization. So they do have to be very careful in pursuing the agendas of kind of the largest countries. So countries like China will clearly have a say. The US would have had a say if it stayed in, but the United States' position is not necessarily consistent with the United States through time. When Biden came in, he reinstated membership of the WHO. So this is very much a Trump position to withdraw from the WHO, which is very likely to be overturned again the moment Trump is either removed or ceases to be in office. So I think that's part of a position which is isolationist in the United States. I think it's very maverick. But globally, I think most countries do respect the body with its imperfections.
And what is it still about less than 20% of the World Health Organization budget coming from member states? Are these mandatory contributions coming from member states, and are there options? I don't know if you're aware if there are options where maybe as a country we're feeling we're a bit broke, so we're unable to meet those obligations, and what the options then become.
So obviously the size of a country will determine its ability to contribute, and there will be sort of variations there. But the problem of leaving out countries that can't contribute enough is problematic for an organization like WHO, because diseases might emanate from those countries that they have to manage. So the idea is actually there's a degree of cross-subsidy in that organization, but part of, the issue with how it's funded is that it might disproportionately influence who's in the administrations, who becomes the director general, who are, and its location in Geneva, which is very, very far away from the countries that face sort of very significant burdens of disease. It's very cushy, let's put it that way, and that might be kind of convenient. But Geneva is a neutral country. It's a country that doesn't have global sway, so to speak. So, although it's a fairly cushy destination, it's actually not the United States or France or Germany that might have an interest in what WHO recommends and the standards they set.
I see. I wonder then, Prof, because don't we have on the continent, was it the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention? I think it's called CDC. And I wonder if there's tension then or overlap between the CDC here on the continent and the World Health Organization, or do you get a sense that they complement each other?
They're not. There is overlap, but the role of the Africa CDC is more specific. It's more focused on infectious disease surveillance, and that's quite important because they would need to operationalize interventions. WHO is dealing with health systems more generally, so it's very likely that there's no it's a contradiction in the overlap. They're more likely to coordinate and act in partnership. I can't see that, and there's certainly, in my experience, there's no antagonism between the two. They both have a role, and they have to work together. So CDC is very important because it's actually going to try and identify diseases as fast as possible and react. WHO might be a little bit more distant. South Africa has been very active in surveillance and very, its ability to do genomic analyses and to identify disease very fast, and also to provide a potential treatment regime for anybody in Africa if needs be in the case of a infectious disease is important. So you need to coordinate on highly contagious infectious diseases. You have to react fast. And obviously in COVID it would have been very important, but that overwhelmed everybody.
In the past, I know the World Health Organization has supported us as South Africa in hosting a COVID vaccine technology transfer hub just right after COVID-19. How significant was that? Because there's always been debates about health equity and who gets medicines first when we are in times of crisis.
Well, that's important, and the issue really is not about WHO support, because there was also support from France and various developed countries who are happy to, and the US, to have the technology housed in South Africa for the purpose of production. South Africa can develop and test vaccines. It does a lot of clinical trials for multinationals, including vaccine trials. It was doing trials for all the vaccines, for most of the vaccines that were being designed for COVID. The problem is actually more of an industrial policy problem, in that the unit costs of production are the biggest risk. They were looking at mRNA because the unit costs are much lower than the other platforms. But still, if a pandemic like COVID suddenly generates a massive demand for a vaccine, and then it drops off to nothing. And so you don't have enough kind of offtake to be sustainable necessarily at the lower levels of demand. So there has to be a regional strategy. The difficulty is, if you look at a country like India, for instance, they developed a production capability which wasn't targeted at the region. It was an industrial policy strategy. It wasn't even a public health strategy. And they targeted the global market in order to be sustainable. So they produce very low cost of production, medicines and vaccines. But we have to be able to export globally to have these low costs of production.
Yeah.
So that's the real issue to overcome. The technology is it's very South Africa is able to manage that technology, but it can't necessarily manage the unit costs yet. But it's got to have, in terms of an agreement in Africa, if demand were confirmed at Africa level, that might help a bit. But in fact, most of the demand for medicines and vaccines comes from South Africa in Africa, which is not a big enough market. But you do need to have regional production. You do need to have a public health strategy that is potentially reasonably sustainable given the industrial policy negatives. In other words, that you can't produce it at scale all the time.
Yeah.
You've got to have that in the case of disasters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've had instances where the World Health Organization also faced criticism for its slow response to, for instance, the Ebola outbreak back in 2024. So these become important. Prof, I'm going to take a quick ad break. I've got some questions coming from some of our listeners. 0727021702. What questions do you have about the World Health Organization or inputs? By the way, you can join the conversation by calling us as well on 011-883-0702. 12 minutes before 11.
Okay, truck 7, that has zero warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
Why settle for being Mr. Humble when you can be called Grootman? Don't settle. Get the GWM P500 from only $8,499 per month with a commanding presence built to dominate any terrain. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Do you remember the promise Nelson Mandela made to our country's children that they would grow up with dignity, protection, and hope? This Human Rights Month, we honor that promise as the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund marks 30 years of changing how society treats its children. In 2026, we celebrate a legacy that still calls on all of us to care, uplift, and make every child's future brighter, and to follow his example by loving children the Nelson Mandela way. The Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, celebrating 30 years of impact. Learn more at nelsonmandelachildrensfund.com.
Buy any Hills pet food and you could win one of 10 holidays worth 200,000 Rand each. Or take the bucks. Scientifically proven formulas for your pet. An adventure for you. Hills Pet Nutrition. Science does more. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes before 11 o'clock. All right, I want to bring in your questions now on 011-883-0702. If you want to send a WhatsApp, 072-702-1702. We're in conversation with Professor Alex van den Heever, and we're talking about the World Health Organization. I think we need to pay more and more attention to these multilateral institutions, especially now in this changing geopolitical world. I think that will give us a sense of where things are likely to go, what decisions may be influenced by these institutions, or what decisions may influence these kind of institutions. So, Prof, I've got a question here about from Lee in Alberton, who says, "Hi, Clement. Please, can you ask the Prof there about the sway that Big Pharma has, seeing that they make grants to universities, making them obliged to accommodate certain medicines and exclude others. So how much influence then does Big Pharma have on an organization of this magnitude?"
Well, I think that the impact of Big Pharma on countries is more significant than it is on the WHO necessarily, because the WHO doesn't necessarily influence those decisions, although it can, in a lot of cases, the development of essential medicines lists, etc., are an important sort of function that other people can use for references. But those appear to be, certainly in my experience and discussions with people who are working with the WHO and other multinational organizations, they were highly critical of Big Pharma's manipulation of markets, for instance. So all large companies that have a lot of influence need to be, the rent-seeking activity has to be examined very carefully. But it goes much wider than WHO, and WHO is not necessarily somebody who makes all the decisions for countries. Again, it's an advisory structure. It's not one that determines what countries do. And the actual countries themselves and their own policies are what regulates their relationship with Big Pharma.
And I saw that global health aid is being cut sharply. I mean, some estimates put the drop at between 30 and 40% this year. How does that affect what the World Health Organization can do? And what does it mean for us here in South Africa who also rely on public health services?
Yeah, so it's difficult to fully assess the impact, because what it does do is it kind of devolves certain issues to countries themselves. And if their capability is low, they're going to be disproportionately affected. So in the case of that reduction in support, South Africa's been, and other countries have been affected more by the US aid cuts, which were supporting HIV and AIDS treatment. And that has had and research that has had a big impact and has caused a rapid restructuring. The other problem has been, although there was sort of some shifting to Europe, the wars and the threats from Russia have meant that people have kind of put more budget into defense expenditure,
yes,
which has also taken away. The first thing you cut in those budgets, your sort of softest option is your international aid. And so the world, developing countries have been affected by that to some degree. In South Africa, there is a shift. There's a question. A lot of people have questioned whether or not South Africa should have been so dependent or so, acquiescent to donor support, and whether or not it should have been building this funding and the support and research funding into the domestic budget. South Africa is not, it's under strain, but it's not poor, and it has the capacity to do more. And so there is an issue about, at least South Africa, that it should be doing a lot more. And there's been a lot of discussion about shifting that into the country, and it has successfully moved some programs into domestic funding, and that's likely to continue. But other countries are not in that position.
Have there been any lessons, Prof, from how the COVID-19 pandemic was handled? Because, I mean, at some point there were questions being asked about the relationship between the World Health Organization and China during that pandemic and how it could have been handled. What's your sense from your observation? Are there lessons that have been learned? Are there ways that will likely not be repeated because there's an acknowledgement that this could have been done better?
Yeah, so I think that one has to look at the whole COVID response, both nationally and internationally. It was poorly handled because it was too novel. The last time an equivalent pandemic happened was just after the First World War.
Yeah.
And there's a 100-year gap. And that wasn't handled very well then, but it's an incredibly difficult disease to manage. It wasn't necessarily WHO calling the shots. they could have been regarded as a bit slow declaring an emergency. But in fact, the information coming from China was actually more important for the actions that countries were taking. And a lot of people looked at what China was doing in Wuhan and then copied it. And that's probably where the problem came rather than from WHO. I'd have said that WHO was quite slow in acknowledging that this was an airborne pandemic. In other words, it wasn't communicated through droplets falling on surfaces and then your hands touching it and your food getting it. It was airborne. And that's a much faster transmission mechanism than droplets. And that was very evident from up front. South Africa actually adopted the WHO position for quite a while, largely because it wanted to preserve PPE for healthcare workers. But the problem is that people then were less cautious about situations where airborne transmission is actually going to be facilitated. But it overwhelmed everybody, overwhelmed WHO, overwhelmed China, and overwhelmed South Africa. And South Africa's response was also poor. So was the United States, and so are many industrialized countries. What it did reveal was, first of all, how multilateral agreements broke down so easily, because when it came to treatment at the end of the day, or vaccination, people looked to their own very quickly, and rather than to the broader, globally. And so that kind of unfairness, global sort of lack of justice and fairness was problematic. Hoarding vaccines. In South Africa, we were also terrible in the case of vaccines. I mean, we had a facility that was going to do final fill and export of 300 million doses of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine in 2021. But all of that was was going to be directed to the United States first and Europe second, and in 2022 we would have got access to that facility's output, which was very bizarre. Not necessarily because that facility to control it, because they're working on contracts, but you have to ask, where was government? We're sitting with this facility in South Africa and we were going to be back of the queue. So, that just shows you how much can be produced, how fast. 300 million doses was more than enough for South Africa and many other countries. So our strategy was so far behind where it should have been, and that's not anything to do with WHO. That's entirely due to government's own weaknesses in developing a vaccine strategy and implementing it and rolling it out. And in the case of many other areas, I mean, you have to look at domestic policy first. You don't wait for WHO to tell you what to do. You have to do it locally. We've got enough public health experts in South Africa to advise on coherent responses. You really don't need WHO for that. You need WHO for multilateral cooperation, coordination, and standard setting.
Yeah. Prof, absolutely. Thank you so much for making time for us, Professor Alex van den Heever, the chair of the Social Security Systems Administration and Management Studies at the Wits School of Governance.
Every hour in South Africa, someone hears the words, "You have blood cancer." For many patients, a stem cell transplant is their only chance at survival. Yet their match could come from a stranger, someone like you. It takes just 3 minutes to register as a stem cell donor. So visit dkmsafrica.org today and give someone the best kind of hope.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
This is EWN. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We start with breaking news. The Health Ombudsman has found that the death of a psychiatric patient at George Mukhari Academic Hospital in 2024 was marked by serious failures in care and patient safety. The body of 35-year-old Lerato Mahlome was found after a fire broke out at the facility's psychiatric ward while other patients were evacuated. The findings form part of a broader investigation into patient safety in Gauteng. Mongezi Koko reports.
Health Ombudsman Professor Daule Magwenya says the investigation found a pattern of systemic abuse and negligence in Mohlame's care. Her admission was deemed invalid as required and medical processes were not followed, while allegations of sexual assault were not properly reported or investigated. The report also found that medication was withheld and in some instances falsified, while she was subjected to non-compliant restraints and left without adequate monitoring.
Health Professions Council of South Africa, the Nursing Council, will be requested to consider the findings and initiate appropriate professional conduct inquiries on the implicated health professionals.
Mukwena says these failures point to broader issues including understaffing, poor infrastructure and a lack of training in handling mental health patients. Munki Zikoko, Eyewitness News.
It's been revealed at the Madlanga Commission that police raided the home of Sergeant Faninkosi in search of a credit card belonging to suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Kat Matlala. The operation happened in October last year and the card was found in Nkosi's possession. Nkosi has read out a statement before the commission this morning about why he had the card on him. He says around December 2024 or January last year, he was asked by the son of late taxi boss Jonathan Mswazi Msibi to fetch his jet ski in Limpopo from Matlala, and then this happened.
On my arrival, I found him when I got there, that is Mr. Matala. Then I took it away, but later on that week, he phoned me telling me he is looking for the card and a driver's license that he left in the dash of a jet ski. By the time he called me, I was busy. I could not take it to him or let him come to the office as I was not there. He then never called me again.
The Labour Court has dismissed an urgent application by suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi to interdict his disciplinary hearing. The embattled top cop had approached the court hoping he wouldn't have to answer to the city for his alleged dodgy dealings. Mkhwanazi has been at the centre of allegations of police corruption that were uncovered at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. He is accused of having links to suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Kat Matlala and also fraudulently registering Matlala's private vehicles under the city's name. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
In his application to the Labour Court, suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi argued that his pending disciplinary hearing would be unlawful. His argument was based on the fact that his alleged crimes and collusion with Vusmuzi Kat Matlala were premised on a previous contract that has since been terminated. He argued that the city of Ekurhuleni has no jurisdiction or authority to discipline him for matters that occurred under a contract that no longer exists. However, the court has ruled that his argument is without merit. It found that a change in contract and a position does not extinguish the city's authority to discipline him for misconduct which happened under a previous contract. It says Mkhwanazi, in his application, has failed to demonstrate that the pending disciplinary proceedings would be unlawful. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And a pilot and a co-pilot have been killed when a passenger plane collided with a fire engine in New York. The crash happened on a runway at the LaGuardia airport this morning. The Federal Aviation Administration says the aircraft was arriving from Canada. Images circulating on social media show the nose of the plane ripped off. Preliminary reports show that at least 72 passengers and 4 crew members were on board. Gold is trading at $4,222.38 an ounce. The rand is at 17.16 to the dollar, 22.86 to the pound, and 19.80 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $113.97 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 West. This is between the Edenville Road exit and the Kilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 South. This is between the Kilulis interchange and Van Buren Road. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. Do expect about a 10-minute hold up there.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 26 degrees. The breaking story in EWN this hour, the Health Ombudsman has found that the death of a psychiatric patient at the George Mukhari Academic Hospital in 2024 was marked by serious failures in care and patient safety.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Time for our Family Matters feature.
702.
Family Matters.
So, on our Family Matters feature today, I want us to really look within our families, because there are certain things that have happened in our families that have been unkind to us. Things that have also been said, whether by our parents, our guardians, our siblings, that has been unfair to us. There are people that have experienced different forms of discrimination even within their families, whether it's colorism, whether it's sexism, racism, homophobia, could be anything. There are families that, even as they describe themselves as safe havens, can also produce some toxicity. And yes, we think of families as the first places where we learn love, where we're learning belonging and identity. But for some people, home can also be the first place where they encounter subtle or sometimes very overt forms of discrimination. So it can show up in the way boys and girls are treated differently, in comments about skin tone, that quietly reinforce colorism. Or it could be in cultural or racial biases that shape expectations, or in long-lasting beliefs about who deserves opportunity, voice, or validation within that family unit. And these experiences are rarely spoken about. But these are the experiences that actually shape our self-esteem. They shape our relationships and even life choices in significant ways. So this morning, we are going to be joined by Dr. Seth Cooper, who is a clinical psychologist, as we unpack the uncomfortable, that's what I should say, uncomfortable truths that discrimination doesn't only exist in workplaces. It doesn't only exist in schools. Doesn't only exist in the public spaces. Sometimes it actually lives right at that dinner table. It's woven into everyday language, into the traditions, the expectations, and I'd like our guests to share some insights on how you as families can get through this. So I'd like you to give us a call to share your own experience on 011-883-0702. You can send a WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. Have you experienced that form of discrimination in the family unit. How have you handled it? How did you navigate that? Oh, is that something you've seen? Maybe your sibling being treated differently to you because of perhaps how they presented themselves, how they looked like? So share your thoughts with us about the discrimination within families that you have experienced and how you've navigated that. 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Dr. Seth Cooper is a clinical psychologist who will guide us through this conversation. Dr. Cooper, thank you for making time. What an important conversation to have. Good morning.
Good morning to you and your listeners.
So when we talk about discrimination within families, of course, it's quite weird to think that out of all the places, this is something that can also exist in families, because we often hear a lot about it at schools, in the workplace, in these public spaces, but we really don't think that even in the home, that's supposed to be your safe space, that can also exist.
Well, look, it's not something that is shocking in that ours has been a country where racism has underpinned all social, economic, and recreational activity. So we still live in townships versus the others are suburbs. The crime against humanity that apartheid was is not as physically apparent, except for those eyesore places that litter our country, that are shack settlements, and some of the degradation around us. But at a deeply psychological and educational level, we have picked up inferiority and victimization. We've picked up how to turn one's own victimization against somebody who's lower in the pecking order. So within families, you can find that. You can go to an age-old issue of sibling rivalry. You can go to an issue of, why is it that dad does not love me more than he loves so-and-so, or mom treats so-and-so like this. And that sense of inequity begins to develop in the social spaces. That inferiorization and sense of lack of self-worth can get reinforced. And you come back into the home environment, and your sense of it is that, yes, there must be something wrong with me. And we tend to ignore how there's a thin line between expression of love and what can then become hate. Because these are very strong emotions, but there's a very fine line between loving, being loved, hating, and feeling the hatred.
Yeah.
And you can translate that into numerous contexts, but importantly, from early childhood, the child needs to feel full self-worth. Because if the child constantly begins to be compared with somebody else, a sibling, an extended family member, neighbor next door, other kids in that school, etc., the sense of self does not develop adequately to meet the huge challenges out there, particularly in this technological era, when every minutiae is put out there. We put out these things about ourselves, others put out their stuff, and you end up being engulfed in that. And then along the line, there is a diminution, there is a limitation, and you experience that as somebody attempting to overcome you, bully you, do a whole range of things that you've gotten drawn into because you've shared issues with them. So a great mediator in this conversation is how we mediate our personal spaces and public spaces.
Yeah.
And you can also say that for many of us, I'm saying us, I'm not saying a few out there, we've grown up in a very different family structure. You know, the one that the Western world anticipates is a minority family structure on the southern tip of Africa. It's only for the well-heeled, and it probably does not go to much more than, let's be kind and say half. Let's be kind and just say one in two of us has what is an idyllic Western understanding of family. Now, in many of our contexts, we find that there's a child who's a cousin or somebody else's child who is in the household. You find that you don't have a parent, often a male parent. So you already have the ingredients of severe constraints on how that family operates, how it feels whole, and how it reacts to others in the environment.
So how do you then, and maybe let me start with just your expression, your experience, Dr. Cooper, about the most common forms of discrimination that you see just in the course of your clinical work, even when families may not recognize them as discrimination. What are some of the common ones you've seen?
Well, I think, the most common is who is one, pretty and handsome, two, intellectually advanced. Those are the two areas where you'll find that. So Clement is battling because his older brother is regarded as the Romeo in the village or in the area you live in, in the suburb or in the school. And you are also in that school and you feel overshadowed by that. It's reinforced in the household and with the family because everyone says, oh, so-and-so is the one, he's the attractive one, etc. If you add to that brain beauty, and that together can become a toxic exclusion.
Yeah.
And you weathering that and saying, how do I make up? Even though there is a hero worship, there's a role modeling, but you're still feeling a missing part of yourself. So it's utterly important as children grow from early childhood into grade school and beyond, that every child is made to feel important, is affirmed, and the comparisons are not there.
Yeah, and I wonder if parents themselves realize the kind of damage they're making when they're making those comparisons. And there are parents who can be that toxic where they will call their own child ugly. They'll make it obvious, like who is prettier, who's more handsome. And that's really unfair because that just only does more damage to that child, especially a child who's still developing. I mean, even the example that Dr. Cooper raises about maybe children that are more intellectually advanced. Maybe there's another child who is struggling in school for whatever reason. And there are many reasons the child could be struggling, but already you start giving them names. Oh, Udomkop or Ostlaela. All of these languages we use in our family units, that doesn't help build our children. And we need to find ways to rationalize the disappointments we experience as parents and be able to internalize and deal with that without bringing it up to a point where it affects the children. Have you been at the receiving end of these different forms of discrimination? You can join this conversation on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving, they are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his clients sorted. Sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Water is a precious and limited resource that we all depend on. Johannesburg Water continues to strengthen the city's water network through improved turnaround times for leak repairs, pressure management, and infrastructure upgrades to improve system reliability. But water conservation is a shared responsibility. Residents can help by fixing household leaks, turning off taps, taking shorter showers, and using water wisely. Every drop saved helps. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
I only went for gift wrap, that's all I needed, I swear. Just tape and birthday wrapping for a little teddy bear. Now there's a pink flamingo perched right by the door. And somehow 5 new books to read, thanks to the crazy store. That's crazy, that's the crazy store. Went in for one small thing, came out with so much more.
The crazy store. Hey, you never know what you might find.
702 Family Matters.
It's 23 minutes after 11 o'clock. We've been talking on our Family Matters feature this morning with Dr. Seth Cooper, who's a clinical psychologist, about the different forms of discrimination that exist within families. And I've not even mentioned all of them, but there are people who experience homophobia from their own parents, their own siblings, their own cousins. And this is something they deal with in the family, and they have to deal with it when they go out to public spaces, when they go out to school as well. How have you dealt with that in your family? Or perhaps for you it was sexism, or it was maybe the comments that were being made about your body. How have you dealt with that? How have you navigated that? Oh, it's colorism. Oh, this constant comparison between you and the other sibling because either they're better looking or they're more intellectually advanced. How have you navigated those experiences? 011-883-0702. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes on 072-702-1702.
Hi, 702. Manala here. I always say that family will love you first, but also they'll hurt you first, if not repeatedly. In my small family of 3, mom, sister, and me, people think, oh, it should be easy. There should be no dynamics. I've suffered colorism. My sister, who's 2 years older than me, is much light-skinned, and they've been preference over her than me on some instance. But also I know I've also been preferred over her in terms of intellectually being exploited, right? And it stems down to children. I'm unemployed right now. My sister's employed. She's getting more recognition in family, even in extended relatives. And when they look at our children, they always want to do a swap, like, oh, your kids are so beautiful. One could even think that they are your sister's children, not yours. Oh, really? They're not suitable to be mine. So family dynamics flowing like that. Thank you.
Good day, Clems. Good chance to Station 6. Clems, I know what you're talking about today. It's called the parental differential treatment or favoritism. It happened between me and my brother. My brother never liked school and he quitted school, and my mother was treating him differently compared to us because we went to school, and it caused a dichotomy between me and my brother. And yeah, I felt like his word is not heard because did not go to university or he's not working a permanent job and something like that. And yeah, it's created a lot of attention. When he's drunk, he's uttering words such as "Nyazang Tando Kai" and "you have your favorite." So yeah, it created a lot of dichotomy. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Parents must stop doing that.
Yeah, it's incredibly bad. Dr. Cooper, there is, of course, there are consequences here, long-term consequences when children experience this kind of treatment. So how does this repeated exposure to discriminatory comments or this unequal treatment within the home shape that child's personal worth, their identity, even their relationships much later in life?
Sure. Well, profoundly. But let's keep it as straight and narrow as we can. One, it can make you succumb to the differentiation, whatever that may be. And you then are totally encompassed by that. Two, you can resist that and grow from that and find yourself on an equal plane. And there's a whole lot in between. First of all, it's important to recognize that we tend to learn from our previous experiences. So if you treat it that way in the home, it becomes almost normal to be treated that way, although it's impacting on you in a terribly abnormal way. Take alcohol, for instance. If the household is used to having alcohol present and there are splurges with the alcohol, a child can grow up becoming an alcoholic or completely the opposite, a teetotaler. So we learn from those around us that are our protectors, our teachers, our social and other guides. And if they treat us in a particular way, and we have to navigate that intellectually and emotionally at a small age, you're asking for serious trouble because that child is going to be unsettled in school and in other places. And it's a few who will rise above that, but generally what happened in childhood is, the memory of early childhood trauma or perceived trauma can carry that terrible, gloomy blanket throughout your life that I was treated worse off, somebody else was treated better off, and I was regarded as the ugly duckling, or you're not fair enough, or something like that. And fighting that would take enormous resources because you're not getting the understanding from the caretaker at home. Maybe it gets mediated effectively in the classroom where the teacher treats everyone equally. However, a lot of teachers themselves have come through similar things, and they can visit on children their own issues, their insecurities, their own childhood impacts, whatever those impacts may have been, and they repeat the same kind of socialization. So you take, besides the example I gave of alcoholism, if you grow up in a family where violence is normal, you will tend to believe that that is how it should be. And you will act with fists ready for anything that may happen out there. So there's a lot to be looked at in terms of decent parenting. And, there are a whole lot of books etc., coming from a whole lot of people. But they don't quite meet the South African scenario where we're dealing with a preponderance of single-parent households, usually a female head of household, and then increasingly child-headed households in our society. So in itself, that's a gross abnormality. It shouldn't be happening. But you can track this back to our history, to the discovery of gold, diamonds, etc., the hostile system, and so on. So we have not dealt with all of that historical socialization that plays itself out in our society.
I'm going to take the latest in Eyewitness News headlines, Dr. Cooper, and then when we come back, we'll continue this conversation, but also continue taking responses from our listeners on the WhatsApp line. You can call us as well on 011-883-0702. It's 11:31. Bali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. A very good morning. The Health Ombud has found that the death of a psychiatric patient at the George Mukhari Academic Hospital in 2024 was marked by serious failures in care and patient safety. The body of 35-year-old Lerato Mohlame was found after a fire broke out at that facility's psychiatric ward while other patients had been evacuated. The findings form part of a broader investigation into patient safety in Gauteng. The Labour Court has dismissed an urgent application by suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi to interdict his disciplinary hearing. Mkhwanazi approached the court hoping he would not have to answer to the city for his alleged dodgy dealings. Mkhwanazi has been at the centre of allegations of police corruption at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And Parliament's Mineral Resources Committee has welcomed the recovery of all 5 bodies of miners who had been trapped at the Ekapa mine in Kimberley. This morning, rescue teams recovered the last body from that mine shaft following a mudslide last month. The committee says the families of the miners can finally have some closure. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling on the N3 South, we've got more than a 25-minute hold-up between Linksfield Road and the Van Buren Road exits. That's due to the roadworks that are taking place along that route. While travelling on the N12 as well as the R24 West, bumper-to-bumper traffic between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. If you are travelling on the M1 South, unfortunately, you're going to have to drive a bit slower than usual because the route is flooding. This is between Boyson's Road all the way to the Uncle Charlie's interchange. As a result, about a 20-minute hold up there. Please do remember to drive a bit slower than usual. Or you can use alternative routes like Kiprifir drive through and then turning off at the N12 West towards making your way towards the Southgate area as well as Omondi areas. While travelling on the N1 South towards Diepkloof, more wet weather conditions there. So the road is also a bit slow. The traffic is slow moving along that route as well. So please approach with care, especially between the Soweto Highway and the Diepkloof interchange. And that's your last update from me, Mo Ramila. Otherwise, Karabo Jali will have your next traffic update at the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Smart Steve from Momentum. Hello.
Stevie, it's Clinton Myers, the Minister of National Treasures.
Mr. Minister, how can Momentum Insure help you?
This economy is not helping with the cost of my gusheshe, my tires, man.
Just get Momentum Insure's safety returns and get up to 30% cash back, even if you claim.
Is it true?
Stru's Bob, Mr. Minister. Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Why get stuck in an e-hailing ride with 80s music and a Mr. Motomouth when you can get so much more? Get the Haval Jolion Pro Limited Edition from only $4,699 per month with Apple CarPlay and a panoramic sunroof to start your journey to ultimate freedom, okay? Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank and authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Vodacom's Red Hot Deals presents ready-to-use home internet with 400 gigs of anytime data, plus a Vodacom 5G home router with up to 20 megabits per second download speed for just $399 per month over 36 months. Miss it, miss out. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
On the next Money Show, we unpack the latest annual results from Advertech and Tungela and what they tell us about the broader education, energy and mining industries. Then, Business Book Review, we're joined by Jaco Maritz to explore his new release, How We Made It in Africa Too, a collection of powerful entrepreneurial stories from across our continent. And as always, expert analysis of the day's biggest business stories.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Islamic Banking, celebrating 20 years of banking that honors your values. Your story matters. Absa Islamic Banking is a Sharia-compliant FSP.
702.
Family Matters.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're talking different forms of discriminations within our families on our Family Matters feature this morning. I've got a lot of you sending us your own stories on the WhatsApp line, so that's where I want to begin. Let's start with a voice note, and then I'm going to go to some text as well of some of the experiences you're sharing with us about the kind of discrimination that you were subjected to and how you've navigated that.
Hello, Clement. I'd like to remain anonymous, but yeah, I'm from Pretoria. On the issue of discrimination within the family, I have experienced it a lot, and mine, it was due to the family background that I was coming from and my other cousins. So I come from a typically poor background and very poor background. And I remember when one of my uncles was getting married. So, coming back from the villages, the yard is very huge. So we had to go there, clean the yard, cut down the big grass, and paint the house. And these cousins of mine who are coming from better backgrounds, they didn't do much. We the ones who come from these poor backgrounds, we were the ones who were instructed to do the tough things, but these other ones, they just said they just get sent somewhere with a car to buy something and come back, and they still complain.
Thank you so much for sending that, and I'm sorry that that's something you've gone through. Another message here says, Clement, good morning to you and your guest. I'm a 52-year-old woman who is broken beyond repair, mostly by my own parents. Here's something that my father did and said that has stuck with me negatively. I've never even told my therapist about this one. One day I was taking a bath. My father came in, sat there and watched me until I was done. Then he said to me, there's rumors that he is sleeping with me. I was only 16 years old then, very unsettled, and I did not respond. And then my father said, you are not as beautiful as you think you are. Clement, I had other siblings, and not once have I heard them complaining about the strange treatment towards them. Oh, Anonymous, so sorry to hear that. What kind of a father does that to their own child? A 16-year-old, that's a teen. Sit there, just watch them bath, and then you tell them, these are the rumors. And then you say, by the way, you're not as beautiful as you think. How does that even get into the conversation when you're talking to your own child? So what if they were the hottest child you have or the most beautiful lady in the community? As a father, how does you looking at her like that matter in this context? You shouldn't be. Another one says, Clement, I'm the prettiest, light in complexion, long hair and slim body and successful. My little sister is the opposite. She said our mom must tell the truth. She might have cheated with a colored man as our hometown is colored dominated. I look exactly like my dad, but with mom's light complexion, she's mixed. Both mom and dad features, with mom's plus size body. She said it jokingly, but I know she meant it, as she's always been jealous of me throughout. I've been deputy parent to her. She's in GP today because of me. Okay, Gauteng province. To date, we are not on speaking terms. She's struggling in life because of her choices and lives 20 minutes from me, and I last saw her in 2022. I hope God can bless her. That's a message that's also come through. Another one says, Clement, I have grown up being fat shamed at home. It's horrendous. I have always struggled with my weight, and going home to all those, unonne jwang, has made family functions such a horrible experience. I eventually told them where to get off in December. So as you can hear, Dr. Cooper, all sorts of different experiences. And one thing I'm also picking up from some of the messages coming through is just the use of jokes also to express that discrimination, because sometimes the discrimination in families is so subtle, and it comes out as if, oh, it's a joke. So you call someone, oh, this is fatty, Mr. Fatty, or whatever the case is, or ugly duckling, and you think, oh, this is just a joke, or the comparisons that the parents make, and it's very subtle and it's in a joking way. Do those have the same effect? Because some parents will want to argue, well, I've joked about it. It was a reality that I joked about, but it's not like we were being discriminatory towards that child.
Yeah, that's explaining away bad behavior. Because when adults behave badly, children have little hope to find that place that is safe for them, to be secure in their own skin, literally and otherwise, and the body type you have, and how you look after yourself. Because if the jokes remain constant, one can understand somebody when there's mutual joshing. Clement makes a joke at his expense, Sats makes a joke at his expense, then at each other's expense, equally bad but understandable. Now, when we turn that on somebody else, it can have a serious barb to it. And when you have somebody in a position of authority, power, role model, a parent, and you make a joke about your child, when you should be protecting your child from such jokes, that's good parenting, right? Where you know your child has limitations, but you encourage your child because there's that ugly duckling story that will emerge eventually. Everyone puts faith in Sats to be more handsome than Clement, and then Clement tops Sats after a while. That beauty runs only skin deep, and then thereafter there's something else that arises in that personality. So joshing, joking, the parent should, if the parent does it to himself, to herself, it normalizes things, so that you make jokes, but you stop at a particular place where somebody is uncomfortable, and you need to be able to mediate that. There are occasions when it's a very serious issue that's being discussed, and to lapse into a joke, it destroys any resolution. And in the home environment, when you're confronted with lack of protection from your parent, the one who's supposed to look after you, and then explains himself away. I think this, it's happened to all of us, where we make a joke and you realize, by the way, the child is not going to take this. And you have to back off very nicely, very quickly, and apologize. An apology, straightforward apology saying I was wrong, and I'm not going to use that word again. And you move on, and the child grows with you, and the child realizes, by the way, my parent is human after all, and he's repeated what the boys say about her, the girl. Right? And it's that kind of thing. Otherwise, you're left with early childhood memories that can distort yourself, your being in the world, your progress, and importantly, your own family. When you have your family and your kids, it can have a distorting effect on your parental responsibilities.
Yeah. Here's another WhatsApp voice note that's come on 072 702 1702. Okay, we've got some technical glitch there. We'll come back with that voice note after the break. It's 14 minutes now before 12 o'clock.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The passing of Chuck Norris, who I did not know was a MAGA supporter. And Donald Trump, of course, waxing lyrical about Chuck Norris, as he would, because he was a supporter, in contrast to what he said about the former FBI director, about whom he wrote he was glad that he was dead, that it was a good thing that he was dead. This is the president of a country. Can you imagine? The tapping of the shoulder comment isn't, as Amo was suggesting, to tell him to be quiet. You tap the shoulder when you're here to take the guy away, and they tap your shoulder and they say, it's time. It's time, man. Hey? Wouldn't the whole world breathe a sigh of relief?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Did you know that you are entitled to buy a new, demo, or used car without a service or a maintenance plan? You can also use an independent workshop for all servicing and maintenance needs without your warranty being automatically voided. Independent workshops are entitled to all technical info and parts needed to work on your vehicle, so you can shop around for the best price and service. Right to Repair. It's your choice. Visit righttorepair.org.za.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
It's time to save big. Don't miss out on Telkom's biggest sale of the year. Get unbeatable prices and incredible savings on smartphones, data, and more. Hurry! The Blue Bargain Sale is for a limited time. Call 10213, click telkom.co.za, download the My Telkom app, or visit any Telkom shop.
702.
Family Matters.
It's 11 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's start here.
Good day, 702 listeners. Good day to you as well, Mr. Clement. Lovely show. Regarding that discriminating or being called by names by your family, I think it's not so bad. Today's society, we are raising weak children. I think it's not so bad. When they call you fatty, for example, they're pointing out the weakness you should work on. Because if they call me fat, and I work out and I'm no longer fat, that means they no longer call me fat, which is a health benefit to me. So when other people discriminate you, call you names, they're just pointing out your weakness, which you should work on. But kids of today, they have emotions. So thank you.
What? Kids of today have emotions? What happened to kids of yesterday? Yesteryears. They didn't have emotions? They did. It's just that they were raised by a generation that didn't know how to handle those emotions. And that has produced generations of people who have got interpersonal difficulties when they relate with other people, attachment styles. That's why we're sitting where we are now, because you think that by you calling your own child fat, not understanding that not everybody who is chubby like that is because of their eating habits. There are other diseases that can lead to that, and not having that context is problematic. Or you used to make fun of your child who wets their bed, but you actually don't understand that your child could have suffered sexual violation. And these are responses to trauma. That, my friend, is the generation before that has raised the generation now that's experiencing trauma when they are in relationships, when they attach with other people. There are difficulties. Why? Because you've got a child who grew up being told, you are ridiculous for wetting your bed. Constantly beaten, constantly made fun of. And nobody has ever bothered to ask, is everything okay? Because then they would have been honest with you about how daddy touched them, how uncle or mamang, the neighbor, touched them inappropriately or violated them, or how they were being abused at school. And we have an opportunity to rewrite that parenting guideline for ourselves so that we do not raise kids that we are so toxic towards, whose emotions we disregard. And that's part of the reason we're having this conversation. Tabogo, you're calling us from Johannesburg. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to the listeners as well as your guest.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
So, yes, I disagree with the previous call of weak children. But, having grown up in the whole discriminatory and poor family, I know what it has done to my family. I know that I don't even want to build a home at home because of the discrimination that happened. And while trying to fix it, I'm very limited as well because of what was done. But that being said, how do I face a situation where I find that there is one of the children that I have to always raise my voice at him, other than for an example, you spoke about one of the things being education. The daughter doesn't find herself in a position where she's missed her homework or she hasn't done the homework. But the son is always doing that, and I'm finding that it's now becoming a difficult thing. We also have a Christian family, so I try to moderate the styles and different haircuts that are in the family. But it's only after I've raised my voice the guy will have to go to a barber for a third time to only change his hair. And this is after his mother has already shouted at him. Yeah. But now I'm starting to feel like it's leaning to that thing where I'm going to be discriminating myself, repeating the circle as it were. How do I work around this? I remember I've been listening to the show and the speaker said there are books and all of that, but I'm finding this really challenging. What can I do?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Tabogo, and also trying to seek some advice on how better to manage the situation. Dr. Cooper, maybe this is where then we can dedicate some time to helping listeners with some practical tools, one for parents, not to repeat these mistakes and this constant comparison, but also for people who find themselves in a situation where they really are being made fun of or they're being discriminated against. How do they navigate that in the family unit?
Well, look, there needs to be a space, and you find that space to express to your parent, importantly to the parent, or the parent to the child, in a one-on-one, not when the issues are highly emotional, but in a quiet place. Have that engagement with the child to say, this is happening with your homework, this is happening with your whatever, and let's tell me what's happening. Find out from the child. The child could be going through pubescence, could be post-pubescence, etc., etc. But to find out why is this child, the child is acting out probably for attention because there's a perfect brother who does everything well. That's the one side of it. The other, nearly all of us have come across somebody saying, and it's been said even on the station, look at capital punishment. It's banned, but we grew up well. We well for it. I was beaten up, which is true, and look, I'm okay. We forget that violence perpetrated on somebody is not okay. Violence perpetrated on somebody by withholding certain things or by the use of words that can be more hurtful than that slap. All of those play a role, and kids lap this up very early. The human being is the most helpless creature on this earth. Without being socialized, we won't walk, we won't talk, and we won't do a variety of things. We learn from what we see and hear and so on around us. So when violence is normal, when making barbed jokes at somebody else's expense is normal, when you use words that hurt and you treat it as normal, all of those are being visited on the children, and they will repeat that in their family and their context, because that's how we were socialized. That's how we grew up. So let's avoid pretending that we've had idyllic parental lives, and actually it's a minority that experienced it, because we're one of the most violent societies on earth without war.
Yeah, and we need to just do better. That's it. And we've got an opportunity to do that. Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for guiding us through such an important conversation. It's 3 minutes before 12.
Why speed through a midlife crisis on a superbike when you can get an SUV that gives you the same thrill and so much more? Don't settle. Get the Haval H7 from only 7,699 per month that gives you 170 kilowatts of do whatever you like. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Is your skin itchy, flaky, red or discolored? You may have a fungal skin infection. Turbane treats a variety of fungal skin infections like skin thrush, a red and itchy rash with small pimples, usually in damp skin areas, ringworm, a ring-shaped, sometimes itchy rash, athlete's foot, itchy red discolored or peeling skin on your feet or toes, and jock itch. Turbane kills skin fungus, and you only need to use the cream once or twice daily for 1 week compared to other 4-week treatments. Ask your pharmacist about Turbane cream and say goodbye to fungal skin infections.
Dreaming of your next getaway? Whether it's a sun-soaked beach escape, an adventure-packed tour, or a luxury cruise, Flight Center is your center for travel. We make travel easy, affordable, and stress-free. Plus, you can enjoy exclusive traveler perks with our frequent Flighty Rewards program. Flight Center's got you covered. Visit your nearest Flight Center store or online at flightcenter.co.za. Flight Center, your center for travel.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Mandy Wiener, good morning.
You, the SABC's Clement Manyathela.
Maybe the former from this coming week. How are you doing?
I bought the Sunday Times yesterday just because your face was on the cover.
Oh, God. Whoever thought? I mean, do you know how weird it is for a journalist to be the story?
Yes.
It's very uncomfortable.
Very weird. It's awkward.
It's very weird, yeah.
Well,
but sometimes you just have to stand for the truth.
Exactly.
And that is the price I'm willing to pay. I don't play around there because I do it with politicians and I feel the responsibility to do it all the time. What's coming up on the Midday Report today?
The Health Ombudsman releases findings into 2 patient incidents in Gauteng. One is to do with a psychiatric patient. One is to do with a baby. We'll tell you about those. Deputy Water Minister David Mahlobo on a long overdue handover of a bulk water project in the Eastern Cape. He'll talk to us about that. It's been quite something to watch Eugene de Kock on the stand today. The former Vlakplaas commander with a big grey beard testifying at the Craddock 4 inquiry today. And then your Funny and Kosi is wriggling. A bank card is taking center stage today as he faces cross-examination. And then we'll wrap up a great weekend of sport in South Africa. Live golf, very much the highlights.
Was brilliant.
Pirates.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And of course, Pirates.
Yes, Pirates.
Oh, we thrashed these guys. Shame, I feel sorry for them though. 6-0, eh?
I'm wary of gloating because I'm also a Spurs fan.
Okay. Okay, that's what's coming up in the Midday Report with Menuina. Thank you for listening to the Monday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Let's chat again tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Health Ombud has found that the death of a psychiatric patient at the George Mukhari Academic Hospital in 2024 was marked by serious failures in care and patient safety. The body of 35-year-old Lerato Mohlame was found after a fire broke out at that facility in care and patient safety. The body of 35-year-old Lerato Mohlame was found after a fire